What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the Opinionated Hippie, continuing my deep dive into Neil Young's studio catalog. Today, I'm going to discuss Silver and Gold. His 25th studio release came out in 2000, 25 years ago. That's crazy. I still have blepharitis. This eye's red. It's early in the morning, hence the voice. I've been drinking a lot of coffee, but my voice ain't clearing up. Probably going to not wear glasses for tomorrow's Zappa video. We'll see how that goes. But anyways, that's why I have the sunglasses. But I'm going to talk about Silver and Gold, rank the album among all the others I've already done, rank the songs at the end of the video. So I'm going to make a case that Silver and Gold is the first chapter in the second half of Neil's career, which, I mean, I guess in some weird chronological number-wise, it close to being is. But I think it actually is a very symbolic album for a lot of reasons. I think all the way up through the album that preceded Silver and Gold, 1996's Broken Arrow, there is a very strong narrative that you can develop about his career and why certain albums came when they did, why he made the choices he did, that makes a lot of like coherent narrative sense. His restlessness as an artist, you have to factor into it because that explains a lot of his decisions. But his lyrics are very contemporary, whether they're outright specifically political references to Nixon in the 70s, sort of buying into the Reaganism for a little bit in the 80s, a rejection of that at the end of the 80s, a reaction to Kurt Cobain's death and some of his music, him sort of taking on the title of the godfather of grunge at some point as grunge became a thing. And like Neil's music is very tied to the decade that it's a part of. West Coast, a lot of the turmoil of the 70s, you can read in his lyrics here in the United States. And so there's a logic to his albums. And then you look at his personal life, his relationships falling apart, the birth of his son, which heavily influenced his 80s output. Again, the Cobain connection and him being referenced in Cobain's last letter. And so there's a narrative through line that almost is like once the first domino fell on that first album, everything else kind of makes some weird narrative logical sense. And I think the last chapter of that first epic tome was Broken Arrow. It was sort of a grungy, punky, 100% crazy horse indulgent. Like the first three songs are like 27 minutes long total when you add them together. Just these relentless, just Sonic Youth meets Sister Ray type grooves. Almost this cathartic album in many ways that also, like, as the album went on, sort of got calmer and like more introspective, but still as intense because his lyrics were intense. And that seemed like the final chapter, almost like the epilogue of that journey. And then he takes 4 years off before he drops this album. A couple of these songs dated back to, one I think did the title track, I think goes all the way back to the 70s or early 80s, and then Raise Her Love also from the 80s. So you do have two songs that were around a while, but had not been released or recorded. But then you get this 4-year gap, and then he drops this album, which is like a return to like the softer, gentler. Yes, there are still some pretty intense lyrics in here, but it's that country rock sort of palette. And I feel like that 4-year gap is significant because it is the longest gap he has taken to release a studio album up to this point in his career. And I think from this point on, while he still has albums that are 100% of the moment, Living with War, of the moment, I still think from this point on, the journey, you know, despite the sort of, okay, this happened because of what's going on in our country, this is happening because of what Monsanto, you know, we have things that are popping up that are definitely of their era. I do think from here on out, it's not this natural domino following thing, but just an artist who has established himself and is just figuring out different ways to express his muse. And this is that opening chapter that really is this soft, gentle, we're going into the new millennium together. And the first song completely buys into that. It's called Good to See You. It reminds me of an Eric Clapton 70s. This could have fit right on like Backless. It's just one of those You could have dropped this song on like an Eric Clapton 70s album and not even change the vocals, and people might not even realize it's not an Eric Clapton song because it just feels like one of those like, hello, old friend. It is a great opening track. Good to see you. It's been 4 years. It's like now 2000. There was something very like, Neil did not go away after Broken Arrow. I mean, he was relentlessly doing stuff. But there is this sense of like, I've been gone a while. I'm past that first part of my career. We're going in this new journey together. And there's just something really awesome about the opener. There's just something awesome about the entire vibe of this album. I feel like Harvest, classic album from early on. Harvest Moon, he had found his voice again in like the late 80s, early 90s and needed to return to this. Comes a Time, another classic album. But this felt like I'm returning to this not for any reason, not because this is what I need to do to exorcise these demons, so it makes sense after the 90s albums, but there's something about this just feels like I want to do this because I want to do this, which is, who knows. But anyways, really overthinking this, but I do think there's like, I've been listening to these albums in order, from the first one, and we're now here 25 studio albums in, plus a couple live albums, plus some other stuff, and this feels different. This one just feels, all right, he just chose this path on his own without being influenced by anything else. Opening track, really great opener. The title track is next. We're back to a more typical Neil solo, like acoustic type vibe. We do have like a soft band energy on a lot of these songs. Love is Better Than Silver and Gold in the title track. Just really great song. Then we get Daddy Went Walkin', which almost at first flirts with like Springsteen vibes. But then as the song goes on, you realize, like if this was a Springsteen song, Daddy Went Walkin', out the door and into the arms of another woman, and I'm left home alone, and I got to get a job when I'm 16. That's not what this is. This is like Daddy went walking, and he did these things, and he had these experiences, and I was a kid to see it. It's like, oh, it's like jamming on the back porch, but it's all positive and kind of good. Neat. It's got a little tempo shift in the middle that's pretty cool. Neat little song. Little jauntier, kind of cool. Then we get Buffalo Springfield again, which is awesome. It has this bounce to it, has this vibrancy, has this just like a little more of like a radio-friendly pop sound. Like I think if there was going to be a pop hit on this album, it would have been Buffalo Springfield again. It just has that bounce to it, but it's not distinctly different from the rest of the song, so it fits in perfectly. And I think if the album opens with this, it sets up a vibe that doesn't carry through. And I think a lot of artists might have opened with this because I think it's a really strong track and it's really easily accessible. But dropping it 4 songs in, it's just like, all right, Neil's still able to like mine this sort of radio-friendly vibe. Really cool song, reminiscent about Buffalo Springfield. Neil loves to look back and reminisce. And it's awesome, when he does it with an honest appreciation, even though he never like downplays the rough times. That's followed with The Great Divide, which kind of keeps up that like a little more positive energy, but the lyrics are now getting a little bit darker, a little bit more serious, but there is a neat sort of like Buffalo Springfield, that energy does carry through to The Great Divide in a really, I don't know, a good way that just gives this middle part of the album this really nice little push. Then we get Horseshoe Man. Horseshoe Man apparently can solve your problems. He can pick up your pieces and help you put them back together. Kind of a nice little soft country rock discourse on love. We get Red Sun, very ballady, folky vibe, nice backing vocals. I think it's Ronstadt and is it Emmylou? Yeah, Ronstadt and Emmylou are doing the backing vocals. Some really nice backing vocals on here. This is one of your like positive vibes, kind of a slower, hazier, lazier type acoustic song. A Distant Camera, nice full band, mid-tempo country rock, really good song. And then the album ends with what I think are the best 2 songs on this album. Razor Love, which just has this really nice flowing type acoustic vibe. Really nice piano playing that comes through on here. It's just got this, I don't know, it's got this really low key chill, but at the same time, we're not sitting back and relaxing as much as we're just kind of, there's a little bit of energy. It's like a late night, but it's really cool. And it's, I don't know, just incredible vibe. And we're like, second 9 songs into the album at this point, and it's like Neil's ability to like, I don't know, it's just, I'm always amazed as I make it through these albums and we drop this song that's 9 songs in, like, oh my gosh, this is better than everything that's preceded it. And it's like just drawing you into the album so much so that when you're done, you kind of want to go back and revisit it again. And then the last song, Without Rings, nice little finger picking, nice little solemn ballad, some of probably the most serious lyrics on here, getting a little more poetic with topics. The overall effect of this song is kind of hypnotic, but at the same time, you're compelled by the lyrics and just compelled by the instrumentation and the music. This is a great listen. It's an interesting listen because like when Harvest Moon first dropped, I wasn't in a space to appreciate Harvest Moon, and it took me years to sort of like really, really get that album and find the comfort in it. When this one dropped, you're like, all right, finally Neil's back with an album, but you're like, okay, we're back to this. And I was just so much more open to it at the time because we know that when Neil returns to country, probably going to get something completely different afterwards. We're probably going in a completely different direction. So it makes it really like in real time, if you're following the release of these albums, you're like, all right, I'm just going to wrap this around me like a warm blanket and enjoy it and appreciate the intensity of some of the lyrics, and appreciate the lightheartedness of the like, good to see you and Daddy Went Walking. Appreciate the diversity he brings, even though like sonically it's pretty much this, country rock vibe from start to finish. Just another absolutely solid Neil listen, which means from Freedom through here, it has just been the 90s, one album 80s, one album 2000. What an incredible run. What an absolutely incredible run. And you could see this as sort of the coda of that run, but that 4-year gap to me, like it just stands out because we don't have that anywhere else in his career. This is the big leap, and it just seems like Broken Arrow was a cathartic thing, and he's moving past that, and this is the opening chapter. Could be the closing chapter of that first part, soft, or wrapping ourselves in a blanket, let's drink some hot cocoa with some marshmallows and go to sleep. But no, I think as we're waking up in the morning, it's a calm, peaceful day. We got some coffee. Now we're off into the into the 2000s. So yeah, those are my thoughts on what I think is a really, really, really good album. How would I rank the songs? I got the songs right there. Razor Love and Without Rings, just absolutely fantastic songs. Buffalo Springfield again. I love the pop vibe. I think its placement on the album makes it a better song. The Great Divide is fantastic. Distant Camera is fantastic. I mean, there's not a bad song on here. Daddy Went Walking is last just because it's a little more hokey country in a weird sense. And sometimes it works for me, sometimes it doesn't. I don't think it doesn't work. I just prefer kind of everything else on here. But that's how I would rank the songs. I love Silver and Gold too. Like I wanted Silver and Gold to be at the top of this list, but I'm like, yeah, but those other songs. So where would I rank the album? Well, this is what the top 12 still looks like. After the Gold Rush is still in the top 10. We're tracking that. After the Gold Rush. Is it going to be a top 10 album when all is said and done? Which means Silver and Gold, I have it way down at 19, but this is a Neil Young ranking, so 19 is not bad in any way, shape, or form. And I have it below Trans and Reactor for the exact reason I stated earlier, is like, I was open to this from the start. It didn't have to win me over. Like, I was 30 when this dropped. I already understood sort of Neil's, capriciousness with like what he was going to do. And like, all right, I'm just going to go with it. No resistance here. Where both Trans and Reactor are ones that have like increased their stock value over the years. And every time I revisit them, I'm like, okay, I like this even a little bit more. Where Silver and Gold has always just been like, it's like comfort food in a way. It's comfort food that's a little bit spicy. It still challenges your palate, but it also makes you feel really good when all is said and done. So I know 19 seems low, but it's Neil. It's not. That's all I got for today. Thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts on this album. Subscribe, like, share, comment, do all those things. And yeah, that's it. Go listen to this album if you just want to feel comfortable and have a good time, or even think about some good poetic lyrics. All right. Peace. Talk to you later.